All right. It is the Performance Physical Therapy Injury Report. It is Monday, February 8th, 2021. And I am joined, as always, by Dr. Mark Casimiro. What's going on, Mark?
What's up, Nick? I'm a little tired today. A little tired staying up last night.
I hear you.
And shoveling, having to shovel yesterday.
Same here.
Game, which was fun.
I hear you. I actually went out last night after the game to start shoveling because
Me too.
Oh, wow. Good work.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I knew it was going to be kind of icicle bulletproof this morning, as someone told me.
Yeah, I was out there for probably about an hour trying to do as much as I could and then finish it off this morning. Anybody out there, if you're joining us, make sure you let us know you're there. Say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. Make sure to add your questions down below. Dr. Mark are going to jump into it. Let's talk about that game last night a little bit. You know, we had the snowstorm, but there was a game on. It wasn't much of a game, unfortunately. I wish it was a little closer. I wish it lived up to the hype. But Tampa Bay's defense, I mean, they shut down the number one offense out there in Kansas City, and Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does. He doesn't turn the ball over, throws 3 touchdowns. Fournette ran one for another one, and they did what they had to do, and it was on both sides of the ball, they just dominated. So let's talk about Kansas City's offense. I mean, they shut down Hill for the most part. I mean, Kelce had a decent game. He had like 117 yards, but they took everything else away, and Patrick Mahomes was running for his life all night. I saw a stat that they said that if they would have counted all the scrambling back and forth across the field, that Patrick Mahomes would have ran for like 498 yards. That's how much he ran around trying not to get sacked. So let's talk about it. They talked about it last night. He's got that toe injury. And they're saying that in this offseason that he's going to have to get surgery. When you hear that, Mark, do you think that definitely means it's turf toe, or do you think that means it's something else?
Well, that's a good question. So I definitely think it's turf toe. He could have turf toe and something else going on in combination with that. Turf toe is basically you can have like a traumatic strain to your flexor hallucis longus muscle. So it's the muscle that helps you bend your big toe and flex your big toe. So you can have kind of a chronic kind of thing, which is like kind of a tendonitis if it's like long term, or you can be put in a position where you have a lot of extension in that tendon, and that can cause like an acute muscle strain. So we know with Patrick Mahomes that he's more on the chronic side because he's been dealing with this for the last couple of weeks. We've talked about it a few times. I think that this is really the first game that it kind of came to the forefront. You could see him limping a lot towards the end of the game. In that second half, he was doing a lot of limping in between plays and stuff like that. So one of those things where, like you said, he did rush for about 500 yards trying to scramble around to save his own life. So certainly, doing that, it could kind of get a little worse as the game goes on. They probably gave him a pain injection at the beginning of the game and maybe wore off as the game went on. There was a couple of bad hits there too. He looked like he was put in a weird position too. So something like that could have exacerbated his toe. He probably had a tape job or like a brace on the toe. So I really don't know what they're going to do for the big toe. If they go in and maybe clean out the joint a little bit, maybe he's got some scar tissue on that tendon that they're going to go in and clean out. I don't know what else they would be doing, for that surgery. So I wonder if there may be something else going on that we're not too keen on or that we don't have information about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, it's one of those games where, everybody's hyping it up. They're saying, this is the passing of the torch. I just hope that this isn't something that kind of hinders, Mahomes' career going forward. Now he's going to have to get an off-season surgery. I mean, I know after, like, the next season or two, they're going to be in like some salary cap trouble because they gave out a lot of big contracts. We saw what happened when they had some trouble on the O-line. He didn't have time to throw. I mean, some of the throws that he made when he was like falling down and laying sideways, I mean, his arm strength is unbelievable. So, I mean, I know he's a generational talent, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know Kansas City has some trouble on the coaching staff with some incident that happened over the weekend too. So it'll be interesting to see how how they bounce back and how Patrick Mahomes bounces back from this toe injury. But we'll have to keep an eye out on that, and when we get some more information, we'll comment on it. All right, next up I have for you. We've got some Celtics news. We had Peyton Pritchard return to action from that knee injury. Looked pretty good. Jaylen Brown is dealing with some knee soreness, and still no updated word on Marcus Smart. So I'll kind of lump those three together. And like we say with the Celtics, I know we're always nervous when we hear when somebody's listed on the injury report as, they'll be back in 2 weeks. The next thing you know, the season's over and they never return. So which one of those, obviously Peyton Pritchard promising that he's back.
Yep.
Jaylen Brown with knee soreness and Marcus Smart with that calf injury. Which one is more concerning to you?
So that's a good question. So I think let's talk about Peyton Pritchard first. Like you said, he's back. He looks pretty good. I watched the game yesterday versus the Suns before the Super Bowl. He's moving around well. Looks like he's able to cut, obviously change direction, and it looks like he's going to be fine now after that MCL sprain. I guess I would be more concerned with Jaylen Brown. You see the leap that he's made in his career this year from last year. He's having a great season so far. I think obviously the Celtics rely on him to score off the wing. And then you're hearing that he has a sore knee. Now, a lot of this could be maintenance. I think that everyone in the NBA at some point deals with sore knees. I think that's just the nature of the game. They play 82 games in the regular season, especially this season. It's a shortened season coming off, kind of an extended season last year and kind of extenuating circumstances. This season, they've been going strong since the start on Christmas Day. So I wonder if it's a little bit of maintenance. They know that they're going to have this guy for the long term, so they just want to make sure they're taking care of him. So a little bit of planned days off now as we go into the All-Star break time frame. But I think that gives you pause for concern because we've seen Kyrie Irving when he was here. He had to miss extended time. We're still Kemba Walker can't do any back-to-back days. He usually rests one of those days on the back-to-back day. And there's still some games here and there where he's not dressing and they're giving him some rest. So now if you put Jaylen Brown in that same boat where he needs a little bit of maintenance for his knee, that's a primary piece of the Celtics lineup that's going to be out. And then I think the problem with that is there's a lot of unknown there, right? You don't know how he's going to respond to stuff. You don't know if he's going to make it through the whole season now. We don't really know what's going on with that. So I think that's a little concerning. I think when we talked about Marcus Smart last week or 2 weeks ago, they had originally said a week to two with that calf strain. And I had said that seems a little early for me. I haven't seen anything that says he's ready to come back anytime soon, so we'll have to wait and see. I know, like I said, they're going on the All-Star break now, so they're going to have a few days off, so we'll have to wait and see what happens as he comes back off of that. I'm still thinking that he's going to be more closer to the end of the month getting back here, so I think we're still another 2 to 3 weeks away from having Marcus Smart back. Again, because the risk-reward for that is very, 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 very low. High risk, very low reward. I mean, he could come back and feel fine, but I think there's a greater chance he comes back too early, and now he's going to have to miss more time. He's going to re-aggravate that injury. Or, again, like we talked about with Kevin Durant, have the serious Achilles tendon tear if he does re-aggravate the injury. So I think that you're looking at him, give him a little bit more time to make sure that when he does come back, he's not going to have to be out of the lineup again. He's going to be able to finish out the season. So I still think that he's a few weeks away. So we're talking about two big pieces of the lineup being out right now for a couple of weeks, and we're still kind of up in the air with Kemba Walker too. So I think it's going to be kind of a rough couple of weeks for the Celtics right now because a lot of their guys are going to be needing time off, unfortunately. So,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, maybe give them the time off, get them through the All-Star break, let them rest up, and then really have them go on have them try to go on a run second half of the season to make a push, towards the playoffs. But I mean, Marcus Smart, he's one of those glue guys that hold it together out there. He's gonna, I think I've said it before, but he's one of those gritty players that you want out there with you. And I think missing them would hurt a lot. Obviously, Jaylen Brown's like the bigger name, the star factor. He's got more talent. You want him, with the ball in his hand at the end of a game, but you can't replace what Marcus Smart does. Right, Mark, that's all the injury news that I have for you, and I appreciate your insight on. Last thing I'll ask you, how did you feel watching Sir Tom Brady raise a trophy last night wearing a different uniform?
So I was fine with it. I think, you know what, as a fellow old man, I really respect the fact that Tom Brady's old and young people around him tell him that he can't do it anymore, and he goes out there and proves them wrong. I think that gives me hope as a 36-year-old that my best days are still ahead of me as I reach my 40s. So I actually take, I think it tells us something for also all of us 40-year-olds out there or 35-plus-year-olds, gives us hope that we can still do what we need to do, and we can do it at the top of our game, and that these young guns coming in still have to go through us, and we can still compete with them. So I felt good about it.
Yeah, I
Made
mean,
me feel better.
Yeah, I saw an article earlier. They're saying with like LeBron, Brady, Serena, like and with sports science today and like all the different things that athletes can do for their body, like are we adjusting that prime window? Like is it actually, is it moving to like I think it used to be maybe around 27, 28, right in that area as your prime. Is it now moving towards your, the latter years? So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that. Yeah, like I said, happy for him. It's amazing what he did. He's just keeps taking step after step in solidifying the fact that he's the GOAT. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good seeing him do it
especially him throwing to Gronk. I mean, I love Gronk. Gronk is super likable. That first touchdown Brady to Gronk in a Super Bowl, it's like, this feels a little weird, but I'm happy for them. For them. They wanted to stay in New England, and it just wasn't in the cards for them. Yeah. So
I think, if they stayed in New England, they're probably not winning another Super Bowl. They didn't have the talent around it, but he's out there. You see Brady to Gronk once, Brady to Gronk twice, then Brady to Antonio Brown. It's just like, ooh, just like really. I'll be honest with you. It didn't hurt, but it was weird feeling. It didn't feel good either. The way I feel when I usually see Brady up there, and I'm just like, so much joy. I got I'm tingling from head to toe, and it was weird. I felt like indifferent staring at the screen. I'm just like, I'm happy for him, but I'm not happy myself. I'm not happy.
I agree.
Because the Patriots weren't there.
If you think that's weird, Nick, wait until Tampa Bay and New England play each other next year. That's going to be real weird, especially when Brady drops like 4 touchdowns on the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have a little something. Him and
I think what makes it even harder to stomach if you're a Patriots fan is the fact that the Patriots are like years away. They're nowhere close to being able to get back there. So
yeah, they need to either do something big this offseason with the splash at quarterback in free agency. They could draft a quarterback, but I think they need to bring someone else in other than Sir Cameron Newton. Anyone but him after the way he played this past year. Yeah, it is. They're in a rebuild, and I think it's going to take another at least year or two before we see them, competing again. And I know that's what do you say, 4 years?
4 years, dude. That's what my thought on them is. They're 4 years away from making the playoffs again, unless they do something crazy in the offseason, which I don't think is going to happen. So
they have a lot of aging players as well. But I did see something that looks like Hightower plans to come back. He's a guy who's often injured as well. But we'll have to just wait and see. But anybody that they do end up signing or drafting or anything that has any injury history or injury questions, Dr. Mark and I will make sure to answer those for you. Remember, if you have any questions about your favorite player on your fantasy squad or anything like that, make sure you got to put them down in the comments below. If you can't watch us live, still add them in the comments below, and we'll touch on them next Monday. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Everybody have a happy, healthy, safe week. Peace, everybody.